A wealthy CEO's life was saved by the most unexpected person, a quiet janitor who wanted nothing in return. But when she tried to repay him, his shocking refusal left her questioning everything she thought she knew about gratitude, wealth, and the true meaning of sacrifice. This is a story that will challenge how you see kindness and the people who offer it. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Stories like this remind us of the power of human connection, and we've got plenty more to share with you. The accident that changed everything. The storm outside mirrored Lena Carter's mood as she stared blankly at her computer screen. The glow of the monitor was the only light left in the empty Chicago high-rise, casting long shadows across her office. Another late night, another endless cycle of emails, investor calls, and decisions that weighed heavier each day. At 42, she had everything the world said she should want: power, wealth, respect. And yet, the gnawing emptiness never left. She sighed, rubbing her temples. The board meeting had been brutal. Profits were up, but morale was crumbling, and she could feel the whispers behind her back. Lena only cares about numbers. She's lost touch. Maybe they were right. With a sharp click, she shut down her laptop and grabbed her coat. The office was eerily silent, the kind of quiet that made footsteps echo like gunshots. The cleaning crew had already come and gone, except for one. At the end of the hall, a figure moved in the dim light. Marcus Boone, the building's night janitor, methodically mopping the floors. She'd seen him before, of course. Always quiet, always working. He never made small talk, never lingered, just did his job and disappeared before sunrise. Lena barely registered him now as she strode toward the elevator, her mind already racing toward tomorrow's problems. Then her heel caught. A loose tile, slick from a recent waxing, sent her lurching forward. Her arms flailed. Her briefcase clattered to ground as the edge of a glass conference table rushed toward her face. This is going to hurt. But the impact never came. Strong hands seized her shoulders, yanking her back with surprising force. She gasped, stumbling into a solid chest, her heart hammering against her ribs. For a dizzying second, the world tilted, then steadied. "You all right, ma'am?" The voice was low, calm. She turned to see Marcus, his dark eyes steady behind wire-rimmed glasses, his grip firm but not tight. The scent of soap and faint cigarette smoke clung to his worn work shirt. Lena exhaled sharply, pressing a hand to her chest. "Oh, my God! You just saved me from a hospital trip." Marcus released her, stepping back with the same quiet efficiency. "He did everything. Just doing my job." He bent to retrieve her scattered files, stacking them neatly before handing her the briefcase. Lena studied him, really studied him, for the first time. Late 50s, maybe, salt and pepper stubble. A wedding band, though she'd never heard him mention a family. And his hands, rough, scarred in places, hand that had clearly held more than a mop. "Thank you," she said and meant it. "That could have been bad." He nodded once. "Glad you're okay." Then he turned back to his work as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. Lena Carter wasn't used to debts. In her world, favors were transactions, calculated reciprocal. She paid for loyalty, for results, for silence. But this was different. She caught his arm before he could walk away. "Wait, I'd like to repay you." Marcus paused, his expression unreadable. "A bonus," she pressed. "Or a promotion. Hell, I could get you off the night shift if you want." For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Amusement? Annoyance? She couldn't tell. "No need," he said simply. Lena blinked. "Seriously? You turned down." "Just glad you're okay," he repeated, and this time there was finality in his tone. Then he walked away, the squeak of his shoes on wet tile the only sound in the hollow hallway. Lena stood there, stunned. Who the hell refused a life-changing offer? And why did it make her feel so small? The elevator dinged, pulling her from her thoughts. But as the doors closed, her reflection stared back at her, a woman who commanded boardrooms, who never took no for an answer. Yet tonight, a janitor had said no. And for some reason, she couldn't let it go. The mystery of Marcus Boone. The morning sun streamed to the floor-to-ceiling windows of Lena's corner office, casting a golden glow over her meticulously organized desk. But for once, the view of Chicago's skyline didn't inspire her. Her fingers drummed impatiently against her coffee cup, her mind still stuck on last night's encounter. Who turns down a blank check? She barely registered her assistant, Daniel, placing a stack of contracts in front of her. Board meeting moved to 3, he said. Also, the Henderson deal needs your signature before. Daniel, Lena interrupted. Do you know anything about the night janitor? Older guy. Marcus something. Daniel blinked. Boone, I think? Quiet. Ex-military, maybe? HR would know. Lena stood abruptly, smoothing her blazer. Pulls file. Daniel hesitated. Is there a problem? No, she said too quickly. Just curious. HR was less helpful than she'd hoped. Marcus Boone, said Cheryl from personnel, scrolling through her computer. Started 6 years ago. Clean record. Works nights, occasional weekends. No complaints. Lena leaned against the desk. That's it. Cheryl shrugged. He's a janitor, Lena. Not exactly a detailed dossier. There's got to be more. A pause. Cheryl lowered her voice. Okay, between us, rumor is he was Special Forces. Saw some heavy stuff overseas. But he never talks about it. Lena's pulse quickened. That tracked. The way he'd moved, the calm under pressure. But it didn't explain why he'd refused her help. Where does he live? Cheryl frowned. You know I can't give you that. Lena flashed her most disarming smile. Come on, off the record. The address led her to a weathered brick building in Bronzeville, far from the glittering downtown towers. The elevator smelled of fried food and old carpet. Apartment 4B had a faded Marine Corps sticker on the door. She knocked. No answer. Just as she turned to leave, the door across the hall cracked open. An elderly woman peered out, her eyes sharp behind thick glasses. You looking for Marcus? Lena nodded. Is he home? Not till 6. Works days at the VA now. The woman's gaze flicked over Lena's designer heels. You a bill collector? A friend, Lena lied. The woman snorted. Marcus don't got friends in suits. She started to shut the door. Lena wedged her foot in the frame. Wait, does he need help with anything? Financially, the old woman's expression hardened. Boy's got pride. Ain't your charity case. Click. The door slammed. Lena stood there, cheeks burning. Charity case? Since when was offering help a crime? Her phone buzzed. Daniel, reminding her of the board meeting. But for the first time in years, Lena Carter blew it off. The VA hospital was a maze of fluorescent lights and echoing hallways. Nurses bustled past as Lena scanned the directory. Boone, physical therapy. She found him in a rehab gym, spotting an amputee struggling on parallel bars. Marcus's voice was steady, encouraging. Easy, Corporal. Weight on your left. There you go. The young man grinned through sweat. Damn, Sarge, you're worse than drill. Marcus chuckled. A warm, rough sound Lena hadn't heard before. Then he looked up, saw her. His smile died. 5-minute break, he told the Marine, then strode toward Lena, his gait stiff. Up close, she noticed a tendonitis brace on his wrist, the shadows under his eyes. You shouldn't be here, he muttered. Lena crossed her arms. Why won't you let me thank you? A muscle jumped at his jaw. He guided her into an empty supply closet, shelves crammed with bandages and linens. The air smelled of antiseptic. Look, he said, voice low, I get it. You're used to fixing things with money, but some things ain't for sale. It's not about money, Lena insisted. You saved me. I want to help. Marcus exhaled, rubbing his wrist. My sister's got MS medical bills? Yeah, they're drowning me, but taking handouts. He shook his head. I swore I'd never be that guy. Lena frowned. What guy? The door creaked open. A nurse poked her head in. Marcus, Rodriguez is asking for you. He nodded. then turned back to Lena, his eyes tired but unyielding, the kind who forgets what it costs to earn things. And just like that, he walked out, leaving Lena alone with the hum of the overhead lights and the uncomfortable truth settling in her chest. She'd spent a decade climbing over people to get to the top. Marcus had spent his life lifting others up, and for the first time, she wondered who really had the richer life. A CEO's awakening. The hum of Lena's Mercedes was the only sound as she drove through the rain-slicked streets of Chicago. The windshield wipers beat a steady rhythm, matching the restless thrum of her thoughts. Marcus's words played on a loop in her mind. The kind who forgets what it costs to earn things. She tightened her grip on the steering wheel. She hadn't forgotten. She'd earned every damn thing she had. Late nights, brutal negotiations, years of sacrifice. No one handed her success. So, why did his rejection feel like a judgment? Her phone buzzed. Daniel. Again. Bored is furious. They're demanding an explanation for your no-show. Lena ignored it. Instead, she pulled up outside a modest brick building in Logan Square, the headquarters of Veterans Forward, a nonprofit she donated to once for a tax write-off. She'd never actually stepped inside. The receptionist looked up as Lena entered, her eyes widening slightly at the sight of the CEO in her tailored Burberry trench. "Can I help you?" "I need to speak to whoever runs your job placement program." 30 minutes later, Lena sat across from Miguel Rivera, the nonprofit's director and an Army veteran himself. His office was cramped, the walls covered in photos of smiling graduates in work uniforms. "So let me get this straight," Miguel said, leaning back in his creaky chair. "You want to create an entire training program at your company because one of our guys saved your life?" Lena bristled at his tone. "It's not just about him. It's about doing something meaningful." Miguel studied her, his dark eyes sharp. "Meaningful, huh?" He tapped the pen against his desk. "You know how many vets I've placed at fancy firms like yours, only to have them quit within months? They don't want your pity jobs, Ms. Carter. They want respect." Lena's cheeks burned. "This isn't pity. It's opportunity." "Then why's it got to be secret?" She hesitated. Because Marcus would never accept it if he knew it was her idea. Because she needed to prove to him, to herself, that she wasn't just some out-of-touch executive throwing money at problems. "Just help me design it," she said finally. "Vets training vets. Real skills, real salaries. No one has to know where it came from." Miguel exhaled, rubbing his temple. Then, to her surprise, he grinned. "Hell, you're stubborn. I like that." He grabbed a notepad. "All right, let's talk logistics." The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind. Lena worked late every night, drafting proposals between board meetings. She called in favors, leaned on contractors, even convinced a skeptical CFO to allocate funds by framing it as a PR win. "Think of the headlines," she'd said smoothly. "Carter Solutions leads Veteran Employment Initiative." The board ate it up. But as the program took shape, Lena found herself doing something unexpected, caring beyond the optics. She sat in on Miguel's workshops, listening to veterans describe the whiplash of transitioning to civilian life, the resumes that went unanswered, the skills no one valued. One night, she lingered after a session, watching a young woman named Jess practice interview answers, her prosthetic leg tapping nervously. "You're doing great," Lena heard herself say. Jess laughed bitterly. "Tell that to the last 5 companies who ghosted me." Something twisted in Lena's chest. She thought of Marcus spotting that Marine at the VA, the quiet patience in his voice. She pulled out a business card. "Come see me Monday. We'll find you something real." The program launched with little fanfare, just how Lena wanted it. 20 veterans started the following Monday, including Jess. The training space buzzed with energy, the air thick with coffee and determination. Lena stood in the doorway, watching Miguel lead a session on workplace culture. Then she felt it, a presence behind her. She turned. Marcus stood there, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. He was in civilian clothes for once, a worn flannel over a Semper Fi t-shirt. Lena's breath caught. "You're not supposed to be here." "Miguel called me," he said flatly. "Said some anonymous donor set this up. Took me 2 guesses to figure out who. Her pulse hammered. This wasn't how she'd imagined him finding out. She wanted it to be seamless, invisible, no debts, no thanks. Just better. Marcus stepped closer, his voice low. Why'd you do it? The truth spilled out before she could stop it. Because you were right. I have forgotten. She gestured to the room. These people deserve more than scraps. Just like you do. For a long moment, Marcus said nothing. Then, to her shock, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, a job application. Miguel says you need instructors, he said quietly. I know a thing or two about getting guys like me back on their feet. Lena stared at him. You'd work for me? Not for you. He met her gaze squarely. With you. And just like that, Lena realized she wasn't fixing him. He was fixing her. The unexpected ally. The boardroom was freezing. Lena sat stiffly at the head of the polished mahogany table, her fingers laced together to hide their tremor. Across from her, Richard Hollis, Carter Solutions' largest shareholder, leaned back in his chair with the smug calm of a man holding a winning hand. Let me get this straight, Richard said, tapping the financial report in front of him. You diverted $500,000 without board approval. For what exactly? A feel-good pet project. Lena kept her voice level. It's a strategic investment. Veteran talent is vastly underutilized in tech. This gives us a pipeline. Cut the PR spin. Richard's smile didn't reach his eyes. We ran the numbers. Even if every one of your vets gets hired, ROI won't break even for 3 years. He slid a folder toward her. The motion's already drafted. The board votes next week to suspend the program and reconsider your leadership. A quiet gasp rippled through the room. Lena's stomach dropped. Reconsider your leadership. Corporate speak for firing her. She forced air into her lungs. You're making a mistake. No, Richard said, standing. You did. As the board members filed out, not one would meet her eyes. The training center was empty when Lena arrived that evening. The chairs stacked, the whiteboards wiped clean. She'd ordered Miguel to pause operations until further notice. No point getting hopes up. She didn't hear the door open. Heard you got your ass handed to you. Lena whirled. Marcus stood in the doorway, 2 steaming coffees in hand. He wore his old Marine's hoodie, the fabric frayed at the cuffs. She blinked. How did you? Miguel's wife works in accounting. He set a cup in front of her. Black, no sugar. Exactly how she drank it. Lena wrapped her hands around the warmth. It's over. They're shutting us down. Marcus sat across from her, studying her face. So that's it? You're just gonna quit? It's not that simple, she snapped. This isn't some movie where the plucky underdog wins because they believed hard enough. There are rules, contracts, shareholders. Marcus took a slow sip of his coffee. Funny, didn't peg you for someone who follows rules. Lena opened her mouth, then froze. Because he was right. She'd spent her entire career bending, breaking, and rewriting rules to get what she wanted. So, why was she rolling over now? Marcus leaned forward. You know why my guys respect you? Not because you're some hotshot CEO. Because you showed up. You listened. He tapped the table. So show up now. A wild idea began forming in Lena's mind. The next morning, Carter Solutions' atrium buzzed with confusion. Employees clustered around their screens, whispering. On every monitor, from the lobby TVs to the cafeteria kiosks, played the same video. Jess, her prosthetic leg clearly visible, speaking directly to the camera. I served 2 tours in Afghanistan. Came home with PTSD and a missing limb. Carter Solutions was the first place that treated me like more than charity case. Cut to Miguel. This program isn't a handout. It's an investment in the best damn workers you'll ever hire. Then Marcus, steady solemn in his instructor's polo. You want loyalty? You want grit? Try hiring people who've already proven they'll die for something bigger than themselves. The video ended with a hashtag. Hashtag not just numbers. Lena watched from a mezzanine as Richard stormed past, his face purple. Who authorized this? He barked at IT. The tech guy shrugged. It came from the internal server. No tracking data. Richard's phone rang. He answered, then paled. The Wall Street Journal called you? Lena sipped her coffee, hiding a smile. By noon, the backlash was undeniable. The video went viral. Veterans groups amplified it. LinkedIn flooded with posts tagging Carter Solutions. Even competitors tweeted support. The board emergency meeting lasted 7 minutes. Richard found Lena in her office. His jaw clenched. The program stays, he spat. But this stunt. He jabbed a finger at her. You're on thin ice. The door clicked shut behind him. Lena exhaled, her knees finally buckling. She sank into her chair, just as her phone lit up with a text. Marcus. Told you they'd fold. She laughed, giddy with relief, then typed back. Lena, we're not done. I want to expand to other cities. 3 dots appeared. Then, Marcus. Knew you were trouble. For the first time in years, Lena Carter felt alive. Ripples of change. 1 year later, the Carter Solutions Veterans Initiative had a waiting list 6 months long. Lena stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of their new dedicated training center, watching Marcus lead a group through a hands-on coding exercise. The morning sun caught the silver in his hair as he crouched beside a nervous-looking younger vet, pointing at something on the screen. The kid nodded, shoulders relaxing. She'd seen that same moment 100 times now, Marcus's quiet way of making broken people feel whole again. It still amazed her. Her phone buzzed. Daniel, FYI, Wall Street Journal want to feature you too in their Innovators Under Pressure series. They're calling it 3. Lena smiled. A year ago, she would have jumped at the prestige. Now, she typed back, tell them to focus on the graduates. This isn't about us. As she turned, she nearly collided with Jess, now their lead operations coordinator, her prosthetic leg clicking faintly against the polished concrete. Marcus needs you in his office, Jess said. Said it's urgent. The tightness in her voice set off alarm bells in Lena's head. Marcus's office door was closed. Inside, he sat slumped at his desk, an open envelope in front of him. His face was ashen. Lena's stomach dropped. What happened? He pushed a letter toward her without speaking. St. Mary's Medical Center. Final notice. Payment due in full. $48,712. Immediate discontinuation of care possible. Lena's throat tightened. Your sister. Marcus rubbed his temples. Insurance denied her last treatment. Said it was experimental. His voice cracked. She's got maybe 6 months without it. The air left Lena's lungs. All this time, she'd assumed his sister was stable, that the VA program's health benefits had helped. She reached for her checkbook. Marcus's hand closed over hers. Don't. Damn it, Marcus. I didn't call you in here for money. He took a shaky breath. I have to step away. Go to Milwaukee. Be with her. The words hit like a physical blow. This program was his life now. They were his family. Lena forced herself to think. How long? As long as she needs me. The unspoken truth hung between them. He might not come back. She straightened. Then we're coming with you. Marcus blinked. What? Mobile training unit. We've been talking about expanding to other cities. Why not start with Milwaukee? She grabbed his laptop, pulling up schematics. We convert an RV into a classroom on wheels. Bring the program to veterans who can't travel. Your sister gets her treatment. You get to be with her, and we keep changing lives. For a long moment, Marcus just stared at her. Then, slowly, a smile broke across his face, the first real one she'd seen from him in weeks. You're insane. Lena grinned. You're just now noticing? 3 weeks later, the Vet Mobile rolled into Milwaukee with a fresh Carter Solutions decal on its side. Local news crews waited outside St. Mary's, where Marcus's sister Diane, frail but beaming, cut the ribbon from her wheelchair. As the cameras flashed, Lena hung back, watching Marcus kneel to adjust Diane's blanket. The raw tenderness in his expression made her chest ache. Jess nudged her. Boss, you're leaking. Lena swiped at her eyes. Allergies. Yeah, Jess snorted. Me too. That night, At a tiny family-run diner, Diane gripped Lena's hand across the table. "You saved my brother, you know." Lena shook her head, pretty sure it was the other way around. Diane's smile was wise. Funny how that works. Across the room, Marcus laughed at something Jess said, the worry lines around his eyes finally easing. The fluorescent lights caught the silver in his hair, the scars on his hands. The quiet strength that had somehow become the axis her world turned on. Lena realized with startling clarity. She would burn down every boardroom, rewrite every rule, to keep this man in her life. Not because she owed him, because some debts are paid in ways money can't touch. Sometimes the richest lives aren't measured in bank statements, but in the people who change you forever. If this story reminded you that real change starts with humility, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life inspiration. Who knows? The next person to change your life might be right in front of you.